going to a lot of years, and being normally honest, I think every single hackathon I've ever been to, I have in that I have pretended and eat with my friends. And the problem is not that I don't want to be with my friends. I love the socializing. The hallway track is the best part of any con. But and I came to the realization that I am a snob. I'm a food snob. And so rather than have to suffer anymore, I'm going to bring you all up to my level. Really, when I began to research this talk, I began to understand that the reason I'm the way I am is because I was programmed that way. In my defense, my parents are both food snobs. My care packages as a child at summer camp and when I went away to college consisted of Zabar's bagels, Murray's cream cheese, and smoked salmon. Yes. I got scones with clotted cream from England. I got figs with prosciutto to wrap around them. Other people got chips and cookies and stuff like that, and this is what my parents sent me. And everybody's parents embarrass you as a child, but some of my most embarrassing moments, have you ever had them have to hold a plane for you while your mother explains in detail where she got the tortillas she's smuggling 4 suitcases of? My childhood was wasted trying to find the perfect New York meatball sandwich in California and the perfect Mexican food in Manhattan. So, so I spent a lot of time thinking about the whys, and I came across the most interesting book. There's a man named David Kessler. He was head of the FDA for 7 years under Clinton, and he has trouble controlling what he eats. And so he decided to research. Come on up, guys, because there are bags on the chairs for you to have. Okay, and when he decided that he was going to, I need to walk around, and it's hard to paste because this is taped on. When he decided that he needed to figure out why he was compulsively addicted to certain kinds of foods, he began looking into the whole science behind food. And he discovered, much to his surprise, it led him not only to neuroscientists, but to flavor makers in the FDA and to people like Firmenich, whose only job it is to come up with fake chemical flavors of things. And his research led him to write a book about it, which is called The End of Overeating, and I strongly recommend it to you. Now, mind you, it's written for public consumption, so it's an easy read. It's kind of dumbed down, but it's meticulously documented. And if you want to read the actual papers that are published on PubMed, it's all in the back, so you can get the science that's on this. So, what you're going to get today. First, we're going to talk about this whole neuroscience and how your brain is wired and how the food industry in particular is rewiring your brain. And then we're going to experiment with some things, not so that you can find out what I think about them, but so that you guys can understand what it is you are tasting from your own personal perspective. I don't know how your brain's wired. I don't know what it is you think about things when you taste them, but this will at least allow you to take the time to think about it. So the experiments the first thing we're going to do is in each of your bags are 4 pieces of chocolate labeled 1, 2, 3, and 4. And they are from 4 single plantation chocolates. That means that every cocoa bean in that particular piece of chocolate came from one plantation in one part of the world. They are either from Michel Quoizel or Valrhona, which are 2 of my favorite chocolatiers. And on your sheet of paper are a list of flavor notes. We're going to have a contest to see if you can taste the things that the experts think that they're tasting. And whoever comes close, I have prizes. The second experiment we're going to run is, for those of you that drink alcohol, there's a particular French wine. It is their version of port. It's a Grenache grapes. it's kind of meh. It's not a creamy tawny port with a smoky aftertaste that you know and love. There's no real reason to drink this until you pair it with either chocolate or cheese. And when I do food tastings and I want to show people why you pair a food with a particular wine, this is the best example I know of, so we're going to try that. And then the third experiment we're going to run today is, in each of your bags is also a tablet of miracle fruit. Miracle fruit is a Japanese berry, and in tablet form it's highly concentrated. What it does is block your ability to taste sour. So we're just going to mess around. I bought a whole bunch of things. We got lemons and limes. We have salsa. We have M&Ms cucumbers and a few other things, just so that you can. The last experiment is just so you can mess around, but it will affect you for a while. Okay, so let's talk about the science first. This is not true. There is no place on your tongue that is just for bitter, just for sour, just for salt, and just for sweet. Every taste bud on your tongue is actually a set of receptors for all of them. It's just that there's some more concentrated in certain areas than others. What you really taste with is your brain. And particularly with the... See, the cool thing about this is that your body is an electrochemical machine. And taste is one of its hackable interfaces. And once you understand that, you can mess with it any way you want to. So this is that book I was talking about by Kessler, The End of Overeating. I strongly recommend you get it. What Kessler found when he visited food scientists, he took with him a copy of the Chili's menu and had one of the food scientists go through some of the appetizers and some of the main courses. And what he found was that each appetizer and each main course is set up with fat, salt, sugar, fat, salt, sugar, sugar, fat, sugar, salt, salt, salt. Variations of that, but all in particular proportions. The food is also pre-processed. It's not cooked. At any chain restaurant, any fast food restaurant, and these are the top of the line chain restaurants as well. Your food is not cooked at the restaurant. Your food is pre-prepared in a factory. It is pre-digested for you. For example, if you order something like a chicken breast, the food is, the chicken breast is put inside of a tumbler where it is tumbled with whatever liquid they want to inject it with, whatever oil and flavorings and those of you who are in the back, you need to come up and get bags and oh good, Render's handing them out, with the stuff you're going to taste. And that's done for two reasons. First, it takes a crappy piece of meat and it makes you feel like it's better, it's moister and it's fresher and it's whatever because they've injected oils in it to plump it up, and liquids and marinades and things like that. But it's also softened so that it is pre-chewed. It's such that when you eat it faster. And you don't even realize it. How many of you go out to eat and eat much more than you think you're going to? You order a plate of appetizer of something and it's gone before you're aware that you've eaten it. And then you order a main course and the main course comes and it's a lot of food and you polish it all off without thinking about it. This is calculated. They're doing this on purpose. And the other thing that Kessler found out is it's not just the restaurants that are doing it, it's your grocery stores. If you walk into a normal supermarket today and you look on the shelves, even if there are hundreds of products, with the exception of very specialized grocery stores, those hundreds of products come from 5 manufacturers only. No matter whose name is on the product, they're from 5 manufacturers. And so if you buy a packaged mix of something you're going to make at home, if you buy a canned spaghetti sauce or a bottled jar of something that you're going to add, if you're not carefully looking at the label, chances are you're getting a particular mixture of sugar, salt, and fat. So what's happened and what they've discovered is that, and they did this with very interesting experiments with rats, which I'll get to in a second, but what they've discovered is that the brain has what they call certain bliss or saturation points. And those points depend on a percentage or a ratio of fat to sugar and fat to salt. And when it's right, you can't stop eating it. Have you ever opened a bag of Doritos? And so what this does is this bliss point that they're talking about stops your brain from being able it stops what they call the saturation point. You don't understand that you've had enough. You can't. Your brain, the dopamine pathways that you have lead to two things. The limbic system is one of emotion, your reward pathways essentially, and the hippocampus, which is your one of memory. And the two together create actual neural pathways in your brain. So the more fast food you eat, the more likely you are to eat more of it. And unless you know that, this is all happening to you instead of for you. I think I'm probably confusing you, but the experiments, here's the kind of experiments that they ran. They took food that rats kind of like, and they put it in one corner of a cage. They took foods that rats can't resist, and they poisoned it in such a way that it made the rats sick, and they put it in the other corner of the cage. Then they put the rats in, and the first thing the rats did was run to the corner of the cage for the food they really like, eat it up, and get sick. Normally, then the rats avoid that food for the next week or so. It takes about a week for them to forget about it, unless they alter the fat-to-sugar ratio of it. And when they alter the fat-to-sugar ratio, the rats will eat it anyway, even though they know they're going to get sick. They can't stop themselves. That's what's happening to us. That's what the food industry has been doing on purpose. Why do you think that your proportions are so big? So what makes me different is that I can't do it. You know the freshman 15 pounds that everyone gains their first month of college, their first semester of college? I lost weight because I couldn't eat the dorm food. Because my parents didn't eat it, I don't have the same neural pathways naturally. So while there are some things I will overeat, if you take me out to Nobu, I will overeat on brilliant sushi. But at $200 a person, that's somebody else has to pay for it. But I can't stomach some of the food. I'd rather go hungry. And it's only because my brain is wired differently. So what I want you guys to do is understand enough about this so that you can do the wiring of your brain. Wire it any way you want to. It's your brain. But understand and don't let things be done to you. Do it yourself. So here's one more thing I wanted to oops, we're going up. We should be going down. So what's happening with the commercially prepared foods is that they are taking over you. And one of the things that they found about obesity in particular is that it has exactly the same neural responses as any other form of addiction. You become conditioned to it, you become unable to stop it. And that, I think, not only is it dangerous for you physically, but I find that particularly offensive, that someone or some group of people would believe that they can do that to me. I want the control over my own body to do so that I can do whatever I want to do. So now, that's pretty much all I wanted to say about the science. Go read the books. If, like me, can you guys hear me okay if I just shout for a second? I need my hands. Yeah. If, like me, your finances have taken a rather abrupt downward turn in this current economy, you probably need to do a lot of cooking for yourself. I recommend 2 books, or at least two groups of people. The first is Cook's Illustrated. Has anybody heard of this?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Cook's Illustrated is a science for cooking. They basically hack ingredients, and whether it's something they're interested in, like making scones, or something somebody's written them to and say, how do I do this? They take a recipe. They then alter the temperature that you're baking it at by 15 degrees, or by 10 minutes longer, or they change the level of fluids, and they make 50 different batches of something and figure out which one tastes the best. So in the science of cooking, Cook's Illustrated is where I would go to. We've never had a recipe that they have recommended fail, not once. And we have, yeah, it's a great magazine, great website. You can just go to cooksillustrated.com and figure out what you want to make that day, and I guarantee you might not agree with some of their flavor choices, but they give you all sorts of different options and why. The second thing I recommend is the flavor.